Hello fellows, Herogon the Game Dev here. Now, I've again really fallen off. Hopefully I can at least get some stuff up to speed, but other things in this Funlog will probably be easy enough to summarize. So, here's a little bit of news before we get in. As of October 8th of this year, my Instagram Herogon life is officially 1 year old. Now, I'm not sure what I'd expect as a little Instagram creator. I mean, I'd certainly say that it's quite the nice surprise to have some small following. But enough about the how you put this, promoting my own Instagram. Let's get into Sean the Bro's new additions that I have implemented. First up is some more controller support, and these happened on 2 separate weeks. And it was Detecting Gamepads Part 2 and Controller Disconnected, which are parts 139 and 141 respectively for the fighting game series. Now, I wish I could go a deal deep, but it's definitely complicated, so I'll give a smallest rundown. I've got a determine input device details function, which has a lot of new logic around to help out with the Player 2 controller support, which unfortunately does not work for Mac users like myself so far. For Windows users, on the other hand, they'll probably do just fine with all the controls and stuff. So yeah, lucky them. I'm a little annoyed about what I'm using because I'm kind of missing out on the goods that Windows users might have. I mean, I can't even play the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man stuff. All because my stuff is not a PC or Windows based. But enough about that. The next part involves controller disconnected, which involves encode the base game instance. A few things were put in, like a virtual void init override function, which overrides the initialize function that's already in Unreal Editor. The controller connection changed event, which lets us know when the controller connection has changed, as well as the controller connection changed event. In base game instance itself, it's pretty simple. Just this init and controller connection changed event. So depending on whether our controller is connected or not, we might have ourselves a little disconnected message pop up, just like all those other games like Mortal Kombat. So here is the widget itself, and unfortunately how my stuff works is very different from Windows users. Heck, even when I turn off the keyboard or all controllers, things don't entirely go so well. Now, going into what happened in between these 2 videos, detecting gamepads using 2 controllers and controller disconnected, we have running and improved dashing. Now, we all know about running and dashing in games like Smash Bros. And Mortal Kombat. It's become a small little staple. So the biggest changes just so happen to be in the character.h and .cpp. For those that aren't entirely knowledgeable in what .h and CPP are, the .h is the header file, and the .cpp is the C++ code itself. Now, I added 2 new things per movement. Moving forward and moving backward now have options for running and dashing forward separately. And within F command itself, we've got resulting state, which helps in the little running and dashing, so to speak. Now in .cpp itself, most of the stuff comes from the move right and the start command. So we go down from move right, which is this right here. We'll go way down. Keep going, and then you have, well, hold on, right here. If the character state does not equal E character state VE dashing backward, or, and, actually it's an and, character state does not equal E character state VE running backward, then we are just going to set the character state to moving backward. And same goes for moving forward right here. The same sort of logic is also in Move Right controller, which again has the slight difference that the value use 0.20F because there's dead zones in controllers. Now going into Blueprint itself, it is pretty easy, or rather easy for Unreal editors to use. Unreal Engine users just need to press this plus here to character commands, add a new command. You can name it forward, dash, or whatever the heck you want, and you have 2 input types for this, forward, and the resulting state will be running forward if you have that, or at least hold down on the stuff. And you could also do dashing backward. Now for this, I implemented both running forward and dashing backward as a little shot to show both sides of use. One other change is the end jump transition and the end attack transition stuff. For end jump transition, due to a bit of issues with the anim notify changing the attack state early, or rather character state early, then we have ourselves a bit of issues. Thankfully that has been fixed. So going in, we will go to movement and then backward dash. Transition rule is pretty easy enough. You've got your usual start attack transition, start transition event. That's a bit of a mouthful. And it leads into backward dash. This only happens if you're dashing backward. Same goes for dashing forward. And going from those two to idle is already simple enough. Automatic rule-based start transition event for going to idle is end attack transition. That's easy enough. And running forward is mostly the same too. Of course, one thing I do have is I've changed the walk forward animation to play at 5 times the usual rate. So that will be sure to see any sort of effect on things. And of course, the final stuff is videos in the command list widget, which is, well, a little bit simple. In our command list UI, we have ourselves a little material that can play any sort of movies or media. In this case, it's a little like anything. For instance, if you're wanting to play some kind of a cutscene or movie that's pre-rendered, this would probably be one way to go. Of course, that entails a lot. In movies, we have this stuff right here. A file media source, which is just simply put the video that we'll use. A media player, which allows us to play any sort of media, whether we want to play on open or shuffle media sources, or even loop a particular file media source. And of course, in order to do that, we have to have a media texture itself for such thing, and a material. And right in the command list itself, we have exactly that. And we do have name of character put up here, and hopefully in the future we can change things around so we can really improve upon all of this. And with that, let's get into the gameplay itself. I've activated using an Xbox controller, and it works just okay, at least. Now going in, there's a bit of an issue when you try to connect two controllers. Now my second controller is connecting, which is black, and let's see, still connecting, but things are working okay for controller 1 so far. And right now, let's get into things. Let's press A for player 1, and unfortunately, our controller has now connected. So what that would mean is, well, we'd now have ourselves a new gamepad chosen. Now this moves everything around, and unfortunately the second controller does not work at all. So we'll have to use the keyboard for this. And do pardon the slowness of stuff, my Mac's a bit old, 5 years right now. Now, going into the gameplay itself, we've got some simple stuff here. Whenever I press the little pause button around, it causes the pause menu to appear if you're doing controllers. Now, I press my first controller, it can go from here, the red fist, to a yin-yang symbol to imply that you're using a controller. This only seems to work for movement so far, so yeah. Meanwhile, player 2, if you do it on keyboard, then you get this right here. Now, going into stuff right now, we can press it back, then takes a little while for things to work out for there. And for player 2, you saw that small movement there, that would be our dash. And now for player 1, we have running. Now give it a little bit of a moment. Usually it takes a bit of timing to do such thing. And if you take a look, our player 1 is now moving faster because it is running forward, compared to player 2, who is just simply moving. And you could keep them there like this for a while, but we won't exactly do that. Now, going into the pause menu itself, there's a bit of kinks to work out, but we can get into command list, and then there we go. Our little media player where we can show videos of each move. The plan would probably be to have a different video appear whenever you're choosing what move you want to look at and see how it works. So yeah, there's a bit of advantage there for those that are entirely new to fighting games. I have no doubt that many people on here would be. And so yeah, it's a lot of little bugs and kinks here and there. But all in all, I think it's okay. I mean, I'm still doing this as a bit of framework, and the fighting game is a far ways off. So with that, I'd like to again thank Sean the Bro for all of his work with the fighting game tutorials and so many other Unreal Engine programming series. Without him, I again probably would be in a very, very different spot in terms of making things, such as story and writing. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be a game dev without these sorts of YouTube tutorials. So, thank you for tuning in. I've been Herogon, you've been you. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Goodbye.